Throughout the history of high school basketball in Kentucky, one school stands above the rest when it comes to the true meaning of the Cinderella story. The saga is that of Carr Creek High School. So many tales have been told about this fabled school and the teams that wore the blue and white. For the first time, you will see the video that most have never seen in 44 years. This is the most celebrated team ever to come out of Kentucky. This is the story of how the 1956 Carr Creek Indians won the state championship. The legend of Carr Creek basketball is full of mystique, magic, and miracles, especially the 1956 season. In 1956, the Carr Creek Indians, led by Freddie Maggard, E.A. Couch, Bobby Shepard, Warren G. Ambergy, and Jim Calhoun, were ranked in the top 5 all season long. After losing to Wayland 70-68 in the first game of the season, the Creekers won their next 20 games in a row and headed into the state tournament with a 30-3 mark. Their first test would be Central City, who was ranked number 1 in the state, and the pressure was on Carr Creek.
It was a great state tournament. We met Central City in the opening game. They were the favorites. I'll never forget that morning warming up. The place was packed. You couldn't even hardly take a shot when you're warming up. There's so many people out on the floor, like watching, and the amount of energy that was in that place was incredible, from the fans to the players.
In 1955, Central City had lost to Pikeville by 4 in the opening round of the state tournament, and the folks from Region 3 thought 1956 would be their year to win it all. But Carr Creek had other ideas. In the opening round of the 56 tournament, the game went back and forth, with neither team enjoying more than a 5-point lead. In the fourth quarter, with time running out on the clock, Carr Creek trailed Central City by 1 point, with Central at the line. If both free throws are made, Carr Creek is finished and the season is over. But the second free throw is missed. E.A. Couch gets the ball and is immediately fouled, sending him to the line for the 1-and-1. It's 68-66 Central City. Couch would hit both free throws and the game would go into an extra period. In the overtime, Carr Creek would get the ball first, and they decide to hold it for 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
For some reason, Coach Combs just said, let's just play for one shot. It's all we need to beat them anyway. So we were good ball handlers, and he said, let's just take it, and let's just play for one good shot.
The good shot would come from senior Freddie Maggard. With no one to pass to, Maggard lets fly a shot from the top of the key, and the Creekers move on to the quarterfinals. After thumping Allen County 69-45, the Indians had found themselves in the semifinals. They would face the greatest player in Kentucky high school basketball history, King Kelly Coleman and the Wayland Wasps. To stop King Kelly Coleman was impossible. In 1956 alone, he scored 1,734 points, which is an average of 46.8 points a game. And to beat Wayland, you had to beat Coleman.
And Jim Calhoun was assigned to guard him. He did a tremendous job, good job. And the coach told him that if Kelly went to the restroom or bathroom, I want you to go with him.
Coach Combs came to me and he said, Jim, you're going to guard Kelly Coleman. And I said, okay. And he said, I want you to stick him. He said, I want you to stick him like a magnet.
Sticking to Coleman was the task, and Jim Calhoun got help from all of the others and held Coleman to a season-low 28 points. But more importantly, the game still hung in the balance. Carr Creek had battled back from an 11-point deficit, and heading down the stretch, Carr Creek trailed by 1 point. Coach Morton Combs decided to give Bobby Shepard the basketball, but things didn't work out that way. With time running out on the Indians, it would be Freddie Maggard who wound up with the ball in his hands.
You know, that was a logical thing to do because, like I say, Bob was a big kid and he could muscle in there. But it just, I couldn't, when I looked up to pass it to Bobby, I couldn't find him. I mean, they just had him covered up. So I shot him.
For the second time in 3 games, Maggard played hero, beating the buzzer and winning the game. And for the second time in the tournament, Maggard was carried off the court as Carr Creek would advance to the state championship game.
Henderson City came with their same 5 the previous year in 1955. So we were playing a real veteran team. They'd been there before, but it didn't shake the Creekers.
The Indians took control of the game from the first whistle and led by double digits heading into the fourth quarter. But the Henderson Hens came fighting back when the Creekers decided to try and run out the clock.
And in the fourth quarter, I guess, mentally, Coach Combs didn't tell us this, but mentally we just thought we better protect the ball and better kind of back then they called it freezing. I don't know if they call it that now. Kind of, but we just unintentionally was doing that. We're dribbling, passing off, and then they would steal it. We get fouled, miss a free throw, or miss a shot, and they go down and score. They score, and they score. And before we knew it, before it just a matter of a short time, they were within a couple of points of us.
The closer the Hens came, the more Carr Creek would reach down and find the determination to make Eastern Kentucky proud. Henderson's final baskets would prove meaningless, and finally, the Carr Creek Indians could celebrate the only state championship the school would ever capture. 28 years after the 1928 Carr Creek Indians gained basketball immortality for almost winning, it was the 1956 Indians who would cut down the nets, but they would also cut down the nets for those who came years before they ever touched the court. In a way, the Carr Creek legacy is the type of story movies are made of.
With God of heaven, it is all one. To deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of hosts, but strength cometh from heaven.
And David put his hand in the bag and took out a stone and slung it. And it struck the Philistine on the head, and he fell to the ground. Amen.
I love you guys.
But you watch the Hoosiers and then watch this tape and build around this tape with the Hoosier type situation. It would have been just as easy to have the 1956 state tournament, the whole tournament, as like at the Hoosiers right today. Small school. They were small. Riding the buses all over the place. Going in the gym up in Indiana, looking up and how big and how we did the same thing. It was in the close games, it's identical. We could have just as easily been the Hoosiers as they were.
The 1956 championship would mark the end of the golden era of basketball for the Eastern Kentucky region, but 44 years later, the name of Carr Creek still has many believing they were the greatest team to ever step onto the high school basketball scene in Kentucky history.
I really believe it. I believe it more in the last couple of weeks since I got my hands on this tape, which you're showing now. That just watch how we ran, how we dribbled, how we shot, how we rebounded, and all. It's just I think it's the best team ever put on the floor.
Just to show you the impact high school basketball had on the state during that era, Freddie Maggard was the high scorer in the championship game against Henderson with 20 points. He hit the game-winning shots against Central City and Wayland. But when you look at the picture of the all-tournament team members, you do not find Freddie Maggard there. He was not voted to the all-tournament team. Seeing this oversight, the Kentucky legislature called for an emergency meeting and they voted Maggard onto the all-tournament team. Carr Creek High School would fall victim to consolidation early in the 1970s, but if you visit the old school and listen carefully, you can probably still hear the sound of a basketball game being played by the group known as the Creekers.